All right, we're going to start by screen printing today. So first I have my silk screen. On the back side of the silk screen, I've taken time to put masking tape on all four sides. This is so that ink doesn't leak out between the emulsion and the frame. Okay, that's a really vulnerable area. Next thing I'm going to do is, if you can see, I have two designs on this screen. I only want to print what's on this side, not on this side. So to make sure ink doesn't accidentally come through that other side, I'm going to take some extra masking tape and cover at least part of that other design. Okay, so now ink can't get through that area either. So we'll put the screen aside for a moment. I've got a t-shirt ready to go. I'm going to make sure this shirt is laid out nice and flat on a clean, flat surface. Okay, to help with this being a white shirt, I'm going to go ahead and put a piece of paper inside of it. And this is going to mean that if I push too hard with my squeegee, it won't push ink all the way through the front of the shirt onto the back of the shirt, which is often a problem. I'm going to just kind of open the shirt up a little bit. This is an awkward process. It's not an easy one to do, but I find it helps if you roll the paper, put it inside of the shirt, and then flatten it out. You can also use a piece of cardboard, like hard cardboard for this. But you don't want to use corrugated cardboard like a normal box, because its pattern will actually show up in your print. Okay, so we'll get this centered up. Again, make sure there's no big creases or wrinkles in my shirt. That looks good. I like having the tag out and visible because that should help me center my design. The tag's in the middle of the neckline, and therefore I should be able to center my design based on it. Before I get any ink out or start to print, I want to make sure I have my cleanup materials handy. So I've got a soft rag. I've got a spray bottle. Okay. I've got my squeegee and my palette knife ready to go. And I've got my ink. You all received one of these ink kits from Speedball. It's got 6 different inks in it. You guys can mix these however you want to. Since I'm going on a white shirt here, my design calls for black ink. I always want to make sure I keep this ink away from the shirt when I'm opening it up. And do make sure you stir this up a little bit first. This film off of here. Okay. These inks are made specifically for fabric, which means that they'll stay on your shirt, but it also means they won't come out of your shirt. So give that a good stir. Okay, I have no ink in my screen. What I'm going to do is lay this down so that I can see the tag through it, and then I'm going to get it placed centered, level, and then I want it to be about 3 fingers at least down from the collar, 3 to 4 fingers. Okay, and that's dependent on your design. This is kind of a longer design that I'm printing, so I'm just going to go 3 fingers down from the collar. All right, next, we're going to take the palette knife and put some ink along the top of the design above the printable area. This is called a ribbon of ink. How much ink? Well, again, that depends a little bit on how open the design area is. Okay, if you have a lot of open space on your design, you need more ink. If you have very thin lines, you need less ink. So I don't know if it's visible, if it's easy for you to see how much ink I have here. All right, but it's a little wider than the design, and it's about 1/2 inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch wide, or whatever, thick. Okay. So now I'm going to take my squeegee. And I want to hold that squeegee at a 45-degree angle when it's touching the screen. All right, it's helpful if you have a friend, a sibling, a parent hold the screen down for you so that you can get both of your hands on the squeegee. All right, I'm just going to use one hand right now, but we need to make sure the screen doesn't move and that the squeegee remains in really good contact with the screen. You want to push down pretty hard, okay, because we need the screen to make really good contact with the shirt so the ink can flow through nicely. Okay, and I'm going to do 3 total passes. Now my squeegee is not quite as wide as my design, and so I have to do a couple of passes each time so that the squeegee completely covers the design. Once I've done those 3 passes, hard pressure, 45-degree angle, I should be able to lift the screen and see that it printed nicely. Okay, so that's a good shirt print. I'll move this over. You just want to drape this somewhere that is where it can dry without getting messed with or anything else on it. It can be over the back of a chair, it can be on your bed, somewhere your dog or your cat's not going to jump on, or your little brother. Okay, now for cleanup. Most important that we clean the screen first. Take no delay on this. If ink dries in your screen, it's ruined. Okay, and that's not, we can't fix that. So I've scraped out as much ink as I can. I'm going to take my water spray bottle. This is just water. That's it. And I'm spraying the inside and the back side of my screen. A lot of times people forget about the back side of the screen, but ink can dry really easily around the edges of your design on the back. We've got to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm using my wet rag to come in here and wipe this down. Okay, so now that it's wet and I've gotten the majority of the ink out, I have a little more time to work with, but still I want to work quickly. So I'm going to just find a more clean part of the rag. You can see this gets ink and water on your printing surface. Okay, so you want to make sure that wherever you're printing is not somewhere that's easily damaged. Something that can be washed and cleaned up. Now, it's a good idea to have a second rag on hand because as you can see, the rag gets pretty full of ink pretty quickly. And so I like to keep a second rag that's a little drier on hand so that once I get the screen really clean, this rag can be used just to dry it down. Okay, now, before I stop, I'm going to take this tape off. Never leave the tape on the inside of your screen design because the stickiness of the tape, the adhesive, will actually damage the screen. It can pull off the emulsion stencil. I'm looking for any remaining ink. That ink might be on the screen, it might be on the frame. I want to keep this surface really clean. Okay, that looks good. We can leave the tape on this outside edge because it's not hurting our design. It's not covering the design, and therefore it won't hurt a thing. I'm going to dry down my printing surface, and then I'm going to come back to that dirtier rag. Whoops. And now I can start to clean my squeegee and my palette knife. You'll notice though I have waited to clean those until my screen is clean. Ink isn't going to hurt these things. Okay?